that is being processed will be scanned in this particular direction, that is from left to right. So that is left right scanning of input. R stands for rightmost derivation, rightmost derivation in reverse. Okay. Now rightmost derivation in reverse means, suppose if we are given some particular grammar, A gives suppose A something like this, A gives A something like this. Okay. So and if you are given some particular string to check whether the string can be generated by this grammar or not, like suppose if you are given a string like A, okay, and A suppose. So what you will do is you will start deriving the string. So there are two methods, LMD and RMD, as we have already studied in the derivations part. So now when you do the rightmost derivation, in this case what you will do is you will select an appropriate production out of these, and then you'll start what do you call it, you'll start substituting from the rightmost end. Okay, I think we'll just remove one of the A's from here so that it becomes proper. So now in this case, suppose if you want to substitute, okay, so what you will do initially is you'll choose something like say S gives A, this production you have chosen. Now in this case you can see that we have A production also. So when we use A production, what we are doing here is we are substituting from the rightmost end. So what you will get is AA. So we got this particular string. So this is rightmost derivation that we already studied. Now rightmost derivation in reverse means we start from the input and we go towards the start symbol, and that is by using the rightmost derivation and using the reverse direction. Okay, so that's the reason that R is used. R stands for rightmost derivation in reverse, and K is the number of input symbols. Okay, it is also called as the number of look aheads. Okay, so this is the base of what LR parsers are. Base is in just from the definition point of view. So going ahead, we'll see the structure of the LR parser. So structure of LR parser. So in the structure of LR parser, first of all, what you require is something called as a parsing. You require the parser itself. Okay, so whichever type of LR parser you are dealing with, that particular parser is required. Now what this parser basically is nothing but it is a parsing program. So some instructions which define how the input will be processed. Okay, some rules which will define how the input will be processed. Now for this particular parser to work on, what it requires is the input. So the input is maintained by something called as the input buffer. So it will read the input from this particular input buffer, and what it will do is it will take one symbol at a time from the input and it will give it, or it will push it onto the stack. So what you also require here is a stack. This is your stack. So we can mark this as the top of the stack. And once the input symbol is taken from here, from the input buffer, pushed onto the stack, the further processing will be done, And based on the rules, or based on the, what I should say, algorithm used by the parsing program, what it will generate is the parsing table. So the parsing table will be generated. The parsing table consists of two parts. The first part is called as the action, and the second column is called as the go-to column. And this parsing table is indexed by the something called as now a state number. What is the state number and all will be definitely getting to know when we proceed further in the topic. So S0, S1, so until Sn. Once you have a parsing table, what you can do is, or what a parser will do is, it will parse the string, process the string, and give the required output. Now this output will be in the form of whether the string is accepted or whether the string is not accepted, as in whether there is some error in the processing. Okay, so this is the structure of the LR parser. So having understood this, we can go to the next part. I think what I'll do here is I'll take an example instead of directly venturing into the entire theory all at once. We'll take an example and then we'll try to understand what exactly we are referring to. Okay, so just give me a second. So what we can do is example. So when we say example means now we are still in the initial phase of understanding what exactly LR parser will do, or what it is supposed to do, or what is the algorithm, what are the concepts, and what is the terminology, right? So for that, what we need to do is we need to take some particular grammar. So we'll take some simple grammar. Okay. So let's consider we have the grammar. So let's consider the grammar as say A gives X, Y, Z. Okay. So now when you have a grammar which is of the form A gives X, Y, Z. Now first thing is we need to know the basics of grammar for this, and I believe that all of us are very clear with that. So now when we have this grammar that is A gives X, Y, Z, we know that there is left hand side and there is right hand side. Now, the LR parsers also make use of the two actions or terms, that is shift or you can reduce. There are two things that it does when it is processing a string. But here the question is, when does the parser know when to shift or reduce? Okay, so now this is a question which needs to be answered. That is, how does the parser know, or when does the parser know when it has to shift or when it has to reduce? So what this LR parser does is, solution to this is LR parser maintains something called as set of states. So a set of states is maintained by the LR parser in order to keep track of at the present moment where it is in the parsing stage. Now, at the present moment where it is in the parsing stage means, just as an example, suppose the string is given as A, B, A, B, something like this. We know that the parsing of a string is nothing but taking one symbol from the input at a time, okay, and checking it against the grammar, and which production can be applied. Suppose there is some production like A gives A that can be applied, then what you do is you reduce it, right? So corresponding to A, you will be writing this, and that's how you proceed uh, in the solution. But now in this case, what happens here is, once this is done, it will go to the next symbol. So basically it will cover up each of them one by one. But for that, it also needs to keep track of where exactly it has reached. So for that, what the LR parser does is, it maintains something called as the set of states. Okay. So now while doing this set of states that I just mentioned over here, these states refer to nothing but set of items. Okay, now what is set of items, what are items, and all that also we'll see now. So currently what we are studying, okay, is nothing but it is, I'll just write on top, it is something called as the LR0 parser. Okay. So if you have understood the basic definition or terminology of LR parser, where L stands for left to right scanning of the input, right, R stands for rightmost derivation in the reverse, and K stands for the number of input symbols or the number of look ahead symbols. Then in this case, we can see that the number of look aheads is 0. Why it is 0, what that 0 means, and what is the significance will be more clear when we take up the example. So we'll keep it on hold till that time. Okay. So right now we are referring to LR0 parser. So when I said that this set of items, in case of LR0 parser, what we have is something called as LR0 item. Okay. Now this LR0 item, it is nothing but it is a production of grammar G with a dot at some position in the body of G. So as I have already considered the example as A gives XYZ, the meaning of this is the LR0 items for this particular production or for this particular grammar will result into 4 items. Now 4 items means what it says, LR0 item is nothing but it is a production of grammar G with a dot at some position in the body. So if I consider that this is my grammar G that is given to us, then the items will be written as A gives, I have to put a dot at the beginning, X, Y, Z. After that, this dot will be shifted across, or it will cross over this particular first symbol. So the same production will be rewritten as A gives X dot Y, Z. Furthermore, it will be again shifted to give us X, Y dot Z. And finally, what we'll get is X, Y, Z dot. Okay, so for one particular production in this case, what we got is we got 4 items, that is 4 LR0 items. Okay, it's nothing but every time the dot is shifted. So the meaning of shifting of the dot means if I consider that as XYZ, that is RHS over here, is referring or it is corresponding to some substring of the input, then when we consider it initially, that is here, it means that the input is not yet scanned or it has not yet been read. When we come to this point, it means that the first symbol of the input has been read. That is, this particular input has been read till the dot. After that, when we go to the next one, that is here, it means that the input has been read till y. And when you reach here, it means that the entire input width, that is this for this particular RHS, has been read because the dot is appearing at the end. So whenever the dot reaches the end, that is when we have something of this kind, it should be corresponding to some particular production, a proper production rule in the grammar. So that will be corresponding to a reduce action. Okay. So we'll see that when we take an example. We'll take an example in a short while. Now, one more thing is, suppose in case of our grammar had, something of this form, A gives epsilon. There are epsilon productions also, right? So suppose if we had something like this, then the LR0 item for A deriving epsilon is A gives dot. Okay. So this is just the basic of what we are looking forward to in this particular topic. Okay. So now we'll start with our actual problems. We'll take some example initially and try to get the LR0 items. Once we are done with that, we'll proceed further. So suppose if I give you all a production as S gives A, B. Okay. Let's say that if I give you all this particular production and if I tell you all to write the LR0 items for this particular production, can you all do it? Or what will be the LR0 items for this particular production? Okay, first of all, how many items will be there? How many LR0 items will be there? I just explained to you all what are LR0 items, right? This is an example, what I have done. So now, referring to this example, can you all tell me how many LR0 items will be there? Five. Okay. So let's check how we get 5. Okay. So this is the production that is given to us. So what we do here is we take this and we start. So we first put the dot initially at the leftmost end, A, B. Then we shift the dot. So we get A dot A, B, and then A dot AB, then A dot B, and finally S gives A B dot. So altogether we have 5 LR0 items. Okay. How we got 5 LR0 items is by shifting the dot one position at a time in the right direction till I shift the dot at the rightmost end. Okay. So I believe that it's clear to you all what is an LR0 item. Now, having done this, we'll start. We'll start directly with a problem. Okay. So what is given to us is we are given some grammar. So note down the grammar. S gives Okay, so now this is given to us, and we need to check whether this is LR0 grammar or not. Okay, parsing of the string and all we'll see later. First, we'll try to understand the required basic concept. So before we start solving this, or before we go to the actual problem, let's first identify. Let's first identify the LR0 items. Okay. Now, so for that, what we do is we start with the first production. The first production is this. So S gives dot open bracket S S. Then S derives open bracket dot S close bracket S. Then shift the dot further. Then okay. Now this is just considering the first production. Then there is one more production, S derives epsilon. So when S derives epsilon, as I mentioned, in case there is any production which is having right hand side as epsilon, then its LR0 item will be that particular left hand side deriving a dot. Okay, so these are the LR0 items. I'll take one more example and then we'll start, as I said, with the problem solving. Can you all try this? I want the LR0 items for this. Can you quickly tell me what it is? One by one, you can start typing. Six. Correct, 6. Can you type out one by one? Saish, what is the first one? Okay, we got the entire set only, I think. So E gives dot E plus N, E dot plus N, E plus dot N, E plus N dot E gives dot N. Okay, so we have the solution over here itself. So I believe that I'm quite comfortable in getting the sets of LR0 items. Okay, we move on further. So now when we start solving this particular problem, that is on LR parsers, okay, if we understand this particular part right now, it will be much more convenient and easier for us for the next three topics, okay, because all of them have this similar what I should say, similar mechanism of processing. Okay, so what we do here is I'll write. So in case of LR parsing, what it does is it actually constructs something called as the FA of states. As I mentioned earlier, I'll just scroll back to that part. As I mentioned earlier somewhere, LR parser maintains set of states. So these set of states are used in turn to construct a DFA. A finite automaton is to be constructed from the set of states. And what each state is nothing but it is a set of items. So now the way we got these LR0 items, so like that, a collection of these, basically it is called as canonical collection of items. So canonical collection of LR0 items on some particular input will give us something called as states. Okay, so state is nothing but a set of items. So now what the parser does is it constructs something called as a DFA of the states. So DFA of the states means, just to show you all, like for example, just now when you all gave me that particular answer, like E gives E plus N something, okay. So if I put a dot over here, let's say that then there is E gives N something, right? So this is also a production. So what I do here is, if I write something like this I am enclosing in this particular box. This becomes one particular state. Then I have to go to the next state. So to go to the next state, I should be giving some particular input, or I need to check what is coming after the dot. So after the dot, there is a capital E over here. So E. Then I go to some other state and so on. Okay. So this is the meaning of construction of the DFA using the LR0 items. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll take an example. This gives, I believe we have just taken this. Okay, so let's consider this particular example. Now when we start with the actual till now what we were just learning was some terminology, some concepts and so on. So when we want to solve an example wherein we need to check whether the given grammar is LR0 grammar or not, okay, and for example, considering the exam point of view, the question could be like check whether the given grammar is LR0 and parse the following string. Something of this kind can be asked. So now whether this grammar is LR0 or not and so on, then what we need to do is, the first thing that you need to do is, it is called as augment the grammar. Now augment the grammar means, what you do in this case is you add a new production to the grammar. Okay, that is add a new production to the grammar. So adding a new production to the grammar means it will be something like this. What you do is you introduce a new symbol S dash, which will derive the actual start symbol of the given grammar. Now S dash derives S is a new production that has been introduced, and the remaining productions of the grammar will remain as it is. Okay. So first step is we have to augment the grammar. Okay, so this is called as the augmented grammar. So once you have augmented the grammar, what we have seen is we have introduced a new start symbol S dash, which is deriving the start symbol of the original grammar. The purpose of introducing this augmented production in the grammar by use of the new start symbol is that it helps to determine whether the string, the input string that we are supposed to parse will be accepted or not. So basically it determines the whether the accept state can be reached or not. Okay, we know that there are four actions or four states, four things that happen. One is shift, reduce, accept, and error. So shift and radius are the basic actions. Accept is like it is also an action, but once the accept is reached, you cannot proceed further, and it indicates that the string has been parsed successfully. In case it cannot be reached, then what can be the possibilities? There is an error. Okay, so that's what the augmented production helps in determining whether a string can be parsed successfully or not. Okay, now once you augmented the grammar, there are two things that we need to. There are two major steps that we need to deal with. The first step is called as finding the closure, and the second step is called as goto. Okay, so right now what I'll do here is, let's not get into the exact theory or exact theoretical definition of what is closure and what is goto. What we'll do is we'll consider the grammar. So what you do here in this particular case is you start. Now what we are doing further in this particular problem is we are supposed to construct a DFA of the LR0 item. Okay. Now that means we need to start with the first production. Now when we start with the grammar, what you do is we start with the first production. I'll just number the productions as I usually do, because it becomes quite handy. So you can call this as 1, this is 2, this is 3. Okay, so now once we have numbered the productions, we can proceed. So what we'll do over here is we'll start with the first production, S dash derives S. So now when we want to construct LR0 items, as I showed you all that to construct LR0 items, what we need to do is we need to put a dot. So I put a dot over here. Fine. So once we put a dot over here, what it implies is now we have to apply the first step, that is called as I need to apply the closure. Okay, this step I need to apply to this particular production or to this particular item. Now the meaning of closure means, suppose if there is some particular non-terminal on the right hand side which is having a dot towards its left, like in this particular production the capital S, the non-terminal S is having a dot on its left hand. That means in order to form the set of items, what I'll have to do is I'll have to apply closure. Applying closure means I'll have to write down all the productions of S like this. S gives, what is the first production of S? It is this with a dot on its left end. We have one more production, that is S gives epsilon. So since there is S gives epsilon, it means I have to write the LR0 item for it. We know that for epsilon it is just a dot. Okay. Is this part clear? If not, please tell me, I'll repeat. Anyone wants me to repeat this part, how we have written this particular set of items? Should I repeat or it's clear? Because Nikhil's yes is confusing to me now. Okay. See, first thing what we do here is the augmentation of grammar, I believe, is very clear to you all. We are just adding a new production. Fine. Then what we do is we start with the first production. First production is nothing but a production of the augmented grammar. So S dash derives S, and we put a dot towards its left hand. Why? Why we put a dot is to get the LR0 item for that particular production. Like if you all remember, I had the grammar A gives X, Y, Z. So the LR0 item, the first LR0 item of this was A gives dot X, Y, Z. So similarly, what I did over here is I put a dot towards the left side of the RHS of the first production. Now, whenever a dot appears on the left hand side of a non-terminal in the RHS, that time what we need to do is, it implies that we have to apply the closure operation. Now closure operation means we subsequently we need to rewrite all the productions of S. Now in the given grammar, the original grammar, okay, in the original grammar we can see that we have S gives and S gives epsilon. Now if I tell you all to write we have already done this though. If I tell you all to write the LR0 items for this, it implies that what we will be writing is S gives dot and S gives epsilon, means it is corresponding to the dot itself, right? So whenever we find that there is a dot over here to the left of the non-terminal, what we need to do is we need to apply closure. Applying closure means just generating the LR0 items. So now we need to generate LR0 items for this particular S. So the LR0 items are S gives dot S and S gives. Are there any more productions of S that are remaining and not included in the set over here? Are there any more are there any more productions in the grammar? I don't think so. So what this accounts to is, this accounts to first state of the DFA. Okay. So what we do here is we number it as I0. Okay, it is a set of items, so I stands for item. Okay, each of these productions that we have written inside the state over here is called as an item, and this entire thing is a set of items, which I told you all is nothing but a state. Okay, so closure, applying closure means you start with one production, the first production, you put a dot over there. Okay, the dot over here implies that we have to apply a closure operation. Applying the closure operation means we need to rewrite, or we need to write all the productions of that particular non-terminal by putting a dot towards the left end of the RHS of those particular productions. Okay, so with that, what we have understood is what is closure. Now next thing what we need to do is we have to apply goto. Now applying goto is as good as, do you all remember a DFA? We start with the state 0, then we go on some input, say A, it goes to state 1. Maybe on input B, it remains here only. So basically what is this is, each of them are nothing but the inputs. Okay, so based on the input where it should go, that is what is decided. Now the goto over here is doing the similar job. So the goto over here in this case is deciding about the transition to the next state on certain input, and that certain input is decided by where the dot is. Now here in this case we can see we'll consider the first item in this I0 state. The first item is S dash gives S dot S. So what we'll do here is immediately after dot what appears is the capital S. So in the transition from this state to the next state, what we'll do is we'll use this capital S. So when we are going from one state, or when you are going on this particular input from I0 state to the next state, this dot will be shifting to the right side. That means it will be S dash. So basically it's like, I'll just write over here. We have, okay, I'll take the general form. A gives x dot xyz. Okay, suppose let's say that this is one particular state. Now I see that after the dot there is x. So what I do is I consider x as the input. And then I go to the next state and I say A gives x dot y z. So I just rolled over the dot to the next position. So same thing I did over here. It was s dash gives dot s. Okay, and what I did is I just shifted the dot to the next position on the right side. Now again scan the entire set of items and check whether, apart from the first production, is there any other production in which there is a capital S before which a dot appears. So if you look at the production number 2 in this state I0, we can see that there is a dot on the left hand side, but on the left hand side of an open bracket. Then in the third production it is just a dot. So this is the only production in which the dot appears on the left side of the capital S. So this will become your next state, I1. After that, go to the next production of I0 only. Right now we are into I0. Okay, so we are into I0 means, can you tell me, if you consider the next production, what will be the input to be considered for the transition? I want to consider production number, item number 2 over here. Can you tell me what will be the symbol to be considered so that we can perform a transition? Correct, open bracket. So from here we need to use the open bracket. So I have considered the second item over here and we need to use the open bracket. So now when we use the open bracket, what we'll get here is, we'll get S gives. So now I'm applying only to the second item. Okay, so that means the dot that is there on the left side of the open bracket will shift to the right side of the open bracket, and eventually it will come on the left side of this particular S. Okay, till here is it fine? Because what we'll be doing next might a bit confuse you all. So before that, whatever we have done till here, that should be clear. No answer, so I'm assuming that it's clear. Just to repeat, we started with the first production of the augmented grammar. S dash gives dot S, okay? And then since there was a dot on the left hand side of this non-terminal S, what we did is we have written all the productions of S with a dot on the left hand side of the RHS. That gave us the first state I0. After that, what we did was we took the first particular production in this set of items, that is I0, and we used the transition input on the transition is capital S. So if there is a capital S in any of the productions over here or any of the items over here, what we do is we roll over the dot to the right hand side. But since there is only one item with capital S having a dot on the left hand side, what we did was we just considered that particular item and we wrote S dash gives S dot. We rolled over or we shifted the dot to the right hand side. Then we considered the next item and we have to again proceed further. Now initially when we started, we did closure. Closure is nothing but applying the dot and writing all the productions of that particular non-terminal. And go to is nothing but using a particular symbol as a transition input and going to the next state. Now we take the second production in this particular set of items from I0, and we are using the input symbol as open bracket. So using open bracket, what we did was we applied closure. When we applied closure to this second item over here, what we did was we shifted the dot to the right side of the open bracket, and we got this. Now, when we get this, we have to repeatedly apply closure further into this itself. Why? Because we see that there is a dot appearing on the left side of a non-terminal. So just remember, whenever there is a dot appear on the left hand side of a non-terminal in a given state, we apply the closure again to that particular production. But we consider the original, we consider the augmented grammar. So when we apply closure to this, what we do is we rewrite the productions of S. So rewriting the productions of S will give us this and this. So this is your third state that you get. So we got I0, I1, so this will become I2. Okay. So with that, we finished with this. We finished with this. Now we have the third production over here. The third production over here itself is S gives just dot, so that need not be considered, because on a dot it cannot go, on epsilon it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so we have applied go to all the productions of the first state. Now what we do over here is we come to this particular state, I2. In I2 we can see that the dot is appearing before S. So what we do is we apply closure to this. So applying closure to this means on capital S, what we do is Parth, which one are you asking me? For state I2? Okay. I'll repeat I2. I'll just explain to you all I2 right side. Okay. We have I0. From I0, what I do is I consider the production as gives dot. Okay. Now applying closure to this particular, okay. I'll say closure. I'm applying closure to this particular item. Applying closure to this particular item means what I do here is applying go to this particular thing. I'm applying on this. Okay, initially we apply go to, right? So applying on this, what we'll be doing is we'll be shifting. So what you get here is S gives okay. So on a go to, what you'll be doing is you'll be taking whatever is appearing here. Like for example, there is an open bracket over here. So that will be the input that I have written here. So on opening bracket, where it should go is, it should go to a set of items such that the dot will be shifting. So what this is giving me here is this. Now this is using goto. I have just applied goto to just one item from I0. By doing that, what has happened is the dot has shifted to the next position. The moment the dot has shifted to the next position, what we need to do is now we need to apply closure. It is just like we are alternating between application of goto and closure. Okay, we are in a particular state. To go to the next state, we apply goto. Applying goto means we consider a particular item and we consider what is the symbol immediately after the dot. So that will become our transition input. So on a open bracket, we are going to the next state wherein we are just writing the same item again by shifting the dot to the right of this particular input. Once we do that, now we have to apply closure to this. Now applying closure to this means I am writing all the productions of S from the augmented grammar with a dot to the left side of the RHS, which implies that S gives what I have in the original grammar. I have this, so I put a dot over here. Then I have S gives epsilon in the augmented grammar. So corresponding to that, I said whenever there is epsilon, we put a dot. So this is what we get. So this is the same thing that I wrote over here. What I did, I applied a goto. So I'll just write here to formally write it. To formally write it, it is as good as writing goto the state I0 on an open bracket. So what it does is, it is taking me to something. So what is that something? It is nothing but I rewrite the same item which is containing this open bracket. So S gives open bracket as this, the same item or same production. But now what I do here in this case is I shift the dot to the right side of the bracket. Okay. After that, since we saw that the dot is appearing just before the non-terminal, what we do here is we are writing all the productions of S based on the augmented grammar. So S gives dot SS and S gives dot. Okay. So with this, what we get here is we get I2. Why didn't apply closure for I1? I applied closure for I1, Savita. That's how, see, how I started with was, I started with this particular production. I started the augmented production of the augmented grammar. So when I found that there was a dot before this capital S, I rewrote all the productions of S. That is, S gives open bracket S this with a dot on the left hand, and S gives dot. Okay, that's how I got this. Once I got this entire state I0, see, I'll just tell you how we proceeded or how we started was, we applied closure to S dash gives S. Okay, applying closure to this is nothing but it yielded S dash gives dot S, S dash gives dot S. Now since we observed that a dot appeared before a non-terminal, we rewrote this, all the productions of S. This is what we got. After that, once we have completed applying the closure, we concluded that this is our state I0. So after this closure operation, what we did was we applied a goto. Now when we are applying a goto, we have to consider goto such that, I'll just take another 2 minutes. Tomorrow in an offline class anyway, we'll be discussing this. We applied goto to I0 based on each of them. So I0 comma capital S and I0 comma open bracket. So this and this. The third one we cannot consider because by itself it is an epsilon, which is resulted in a dot. So we do not go to I0 comma dot. Okay, this is not required. So when we do this, that time what happens is we are going to the next state. In the next state, what happens is we need to we need to take the production wherein the dot is there before S. So it is S gives this. Now the dot was before S over here. For I0, sorry. The dot was before S over there. So in the next state, what we get is S dash gives S dot. That is I1. In case of I2, the dot was before this because it is corresponding to the open bracket. So the dot goes after the bracket. I think let's discuss this in the offline class tomorrow. I had predicted it might become a problem for you to understand. I'll explain all this tomorrow. Okay, I'll just record the attendance for now. Just one request to all of you all, whoever, I believe all of you all are listening. Please see that you all attend tomorrow's class properly, because tomorrow if you all understand this properly, it will be very easy and convenient for all of us to understand rest all parsers, that is 3 of them, SLR, LALR and CLR, quite easily, because the base concept is the same. Okay. So yeah, that is all for now. We'll discuss tomorrow. One more thing is, please brush up your concept of first and follow, how to find follow. Now this is from where our first and follow concepts will come into picture. So for that you should be knowing first and follow also. Okay. So please see that you'll brush up all that and come tomorrow for tomorrow's class. Right now we'll stop. I've noted the attendance. Thank you.